Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan. In a previous video I mentioned that I had led my very second as opposed to my very first Goddess course, which was entitled Goddess to the Next Level. And during that time, I was almost exclusively focusing my time and energy on goddesses. I wasn't praying to any gods. I wasn't invoking any gods. I wasn't even working with male saints or male or archangels that have masculine energies. So for example, Archangel Michael or Archangel Raphael. Goddess to the Next Level completed last month, specifically on Monday, September 21st, 2015. And interestingly enough, not too long after that, I found two books. Now, here's what's interesting about these two books. So, both of them are part of a series, and yes, that the sunlight is very bright. Both of them are part of a series, and they're about Cleopatra's daughter. Now, Cleopatra was often thought of to be a physical manifestation of the goddess more commonly known as Isis. And in this series of novels, Cleopatra's daughter is named Selene. Now, Isis is a full moon goddess. In fact, she is the full moon goddess of the Kemetic or the ancient Egyptian pantheon. Selene is the full moon goddess of the Hellenic or the ancient Greek pantheon. Now, it just so happens that I found these two books on hold on, I remember it was a Sunday. Yes, Sunday, September 27th, 2015. Does that date sound familiar? Yes, it was the date of the full moon last month. The full moon that was called the lunar eclipse harvest blood supermoon, which is just, I get a little dizzy when I hear about all these pop culture journalistic buzzwords. It's like, I'm not usually so ineloquent, and here I was struggling to form words because it's just like, oh, please already, And I've talked to other fellow witches about this. It's like, I never heard of the term supermoon connected to moon magic, connected to witchcraft, connected to ritual, and and it just, yeah. It makes me dizzy, it makes me a little bit nauseous, and it's sort of like, please, calm the fuck down. You don't have to create a new term for an especially powerful moon. Besides, a moon magic witch such as myself knows that the power is in part the intent of the witch, of the spellcaster. Yes, it's nice to have a few extra accoutrements to enhance certain things. For example, if I wanted to use a moon magic spell for money and prosperity, first thing I would make sure is that Mercury is transiting direct, and then I would also make sure that that it was an appropriate full moon. For example, a full moon in Taurus, which is the sign of money and possessions. However, I would use the night before the full moon, because I was taught that the night of a full moon is already a waning moon. So, and I would have a few crystals such as amethyst, green aventurine, tiger's eye, maybe some fluorite to heal any past emotional wounds I have about finances, heal any undissolved mental and emotional issues I may have about wasteful spending or accumulating debt or things like that. And I would definitely have some appropriate incense. Since it's a full moon or a bright moon, which I was taught was the night before the full moon, I would use some jasmine or some mugwort. And of course, I would have some money attracting incense. For example, llama dinero, call money, or money drawing, or just some good sandalwood, frankincense, myrrh, and cinnamon. Anyway, so the focus of this video is not moon magic and not spellcraft, but about this wonderful series of books, which is about the life and times of Cleopatra's daughter Selene. And this is the first novel in the series, Lily of the Nile. I practically devoured it. What I love about this, the author's name is Stephanie Dray. What I love about this novel is that this novel was published in 2011, and it was published in January 2011. January is my birthday month. So I was like, oh, they gave me a gift, and I didn't even know about it until 4 years later. What surprised me was that Stephanie Dray, who is the author of this book, and I'll actually read it, read the portion that was a pleasant surprise for me. Oh, that's an alarm. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's see. I know I saw this here. Alright. Well, I'm just going to tell you, she consulted with a woman named M. Isadora Forrest. M. Isadora Forrest is the author of Isis Magic and the author of Offerings to Isis, both published by Llewellyn Worldwide. So when I saw that, I was like, wow. Oh, here it is. In adopting and modernizing this theory by reimagining Isiac or Isian worship, I relied not just upon ancient sources and current scholarship, but also upon the worship of Isis as it is currently practiced. M. Isadora Forrest's Isis magic was invaluable on that count, as was Miss Forrest herself, who kindly offered advice on rituals that Selene may have been familiar with. For other magic spells and formulations, I also consulted the classic works of E. A. Wallace Budge, with particular emphasis on his 2-volume study of Egyptian mythology, The Gods of the Egyptians. She also consulted with one of the most feminal works of goddess worship, Merlin Stone's When God Was a Woman. Believe it or not, I still don't have that book, or books. I forgot if it's a 1 volume or a 2. Anyway, so I love this novel very much. I devoured it. I'm currently reading the 2nd volume, Song of the Nile. I just started today. This is what I've gotten to so far. It's beautiful, it's powerful, it's wonderful, and, you know, as somebody who is a sacred son of the ancient Egyptian Set, who's more commonly known as Isis, I love that Isis, my celestial mother, is the focus of this novel, as is Cleopatra's daughter Selene. I love that there are 2 goddesses that are full moon goddesses that are represented throughout the entire series of novels. I love how Selene goes from being a prisoner of war to a queen in her own right. I love how she embraces the power of the magic of the goddess Isis. I love the whole thing. I love the intrigue. I love, you know, certain characters being put in their place by Selene herself. And what's interesting is that Selene has a twin brother, Helios, named after the Greek god of the sun. Although it's funny because, you know, because they're part of the Ptolemy line. They're half Greek. So, one could easily look upon Selene as a manifestation of Artemis, who is the twin sister of Apollo. And it's a wonderful series of novels. And those of us that are devoted to the Lady of 10,000 Names will especially find this series of novels wonderful. And it's so funny. I did a search because I'm one of those people that I like to go to a store and buy things. I know that it's easy to buy things on the internet, but if I can physically go to a store, I like to physically go to a store and buy it, because it's like, oh hi, I'm here. Here's the book in my hands. It's physical. I like to touch things. I'm very tactile. So I did a search for Daughters of the Nile, which is the third novel in the series, and basically I went to Barnes & Noble Booksellers website. I entered my zip code, and all the Barnes & Noble Bookseller stores in the New York City area, in New York State in general, in New Jersey, and in certain parts of Connecticut, and as well as certain parts of Long Island, if not all of Long Island, I got the same message: not in stock. Anyway, so that's the deal. I'm scratching an itch. So that's the deal with that. So, I'm probably going to need to buy it through the internet. I'll get over it if that's the case. Because I'm pretty sure that in less than, a week to a week and a half, I will have finished this novel already. I was actually a little bit sad when I finished the first novel in the series, and I'm like, okay, I've got the author's note and the reader's guide, and I don't have another book in my bag because I was out doing a lot of things last night. So so it was just like, I've got to start carrying 2 or 3 books in my bag just for these kinds of occasions. Café con leche from a local Cuban restaurant that's been around not as long as I have. I was born in 1970 and they were born in 1974, so I'm older than they are. Anyway, so I highly recommend this series of novels, especially for those of you who love the goddess Isis, for those of you who are beginning to welcome the goddess Isis. Of course, given that the main lead character's name is Selene, if you happen to have a love of Selene or any other Greek goddess that's connected to the moon, I highly recommend this. For those of you who want to be empowered, for those of you who have felt put down by life, put down by others, put down by yourself, put down by all of the above, great series of novels. It's a lovely mixture of drama, intrigue, history, magic, romance, personal empowerment, and of course, it's one of those novels that is like, okay, what's next? And I don't think that there is a 4th novel in the series. So after Daughters of the Nile, that's it. So it's like, Interestingly enough, while I was searching for Daughters of the Nile, I did come across another author. I'll probably do a video about one of her books when I start reading them. Young adult, interestingly enough, but set in ancient Egypt. And there aren't a lot of novels set in ancient Egypt. There aren't a lot of novels that are set in the ancient world. Most pieces of historical fiction are, it's like, you go back to, 1200s, 1100s, things like that, in Europe. But ancient Egypt, that's not an everyday occurrence. So, if any of you know of any other titles, any other novels set in ancient Egypt, please let me know, because that will save me a lot of time and energy from, going to Barnes & Noble Bookseller's website and entering ancient Egypt fiction in the search bar. And of course, if there are any other recommendations you have for any other novels or any other books that have to do with ancient Egypt, please let me know, because I've always felt that because my primary pantheon is the ancient Egyptian pantheon, I have a responsibility to learn about ancient Egypt factually, historically, and I don't do that often enough. I really don't. And I feel that applies to any of you who have a primary pantheon. If your primary pantheon is the Welsh pantheon, then you have a responsibility to learn about ancient Wales as well as modern Wales. I know more than enough about modern Egypt, and it's like, okay, I want to go back to ancient Egypt. And for those of you who, let's say your primary pantheon is the Norse pantheon, I feel that you have a responsibility to learn about ancient Scandinavia as well as modern Scandinavia. If your primary pantheon is the ancient Greek pantheon, the Hellenic pantheon, then you have a responsibility to learn about ancient Greece and modern and current Greece as well. And I think that I need to learn a little bit more about modern Egypt. I don't want to, because I already know more than enough, and it's like, it's not ancient Egypt. But anyway, that's another story. So, and of course, if you have already read this novel, please let me know what you thought of it. Anyway, so I'm eventually, I'm eventually going to work on what's going on with my webcam, because it's driving me up the wall, and it could be the lighting, and it could be the fact that I'm wearing a burgundy shirt. I don't know, but I'll figure it out at some point. No. I have a fantastic computer tech person. He will help me figure it out. Or rather, he will figure it out and rectify the problem, because that's what a phenomenal computer tech person does. Anyway, so YouTube, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for those of you who have watched and not subscribed. Thank you for those of you that have shared the videos, commented on the videos, all these other good things with the videos. And for now, I wish you a beautiful day, a wondrous week, and many, many blessings to you and yours. Thank you again.